This video is a must-know to get the biggest tax deduction for self-employed entrepreneurs. When you learn these 3 secrets, you'll unlock the maximum business tax deduction this tax season and learn how to get more taxes back for a bigger tax refund. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications for more entrepreneur advice on tax deductions for small business and how to make more money by working less. When I'm speaking at an event, the number one tip that I give to entrepreneurs for getting more business tax write-offs is to make sure that you never miss any tax deductions for a small business. So just how do you do this? Well, there's 3 secrets. Secret number 1 is to document every expense. Now, I know that this may seem like a no-brainer, but so few entrepreneurs are doing this. It is imperative that you assign every single expense to a tax deduction category when filing your taxes for small business. You may be thinking that it's impossible for every expense to qualify as a small business tax deduction, but that's just because you don't understand how to actually qualify for a business tax deduction on your small business tax return. Let me know in the comments, what is your biggest stressor when it comes to tax season? You see, all you need to know are the general tax deduction categories. Now, I'm going to link to my free ultimate tax deduction cheat sheet in the description below. Make sure to grab that because it's going to outline the general tax deduction categories and give you a really good idea of various expenses that fall into each of those categories. And what you need to understand is that tax deductions are not black and white. It all comes down to the interpretation of the individual accountant, CPA, auditor, business owner, and such. Each person interprets the tax law in a different way. So if tax write-offs for self-employed are such a gray area, then how do you err on the safe side to make sure that you're safe in case of an audit, while also not missing out on any of the tax deductions that are actually available for you to take? So that brings us to point number 2. You want to show how every expense that your business makes is ordinary and necessary. Because tax deductions are so gray, the number one thing that you need to do is provide proof that the expense is ordinary and necessary to the operation of your business. All right, what does that actually mean? Ordinary expense means that it's an expense that makes sense. It's common for any business to have that type of expense. So think of it as a printer versus dog food. Now, I'm pretty sure every single business out there needs to have a printer. So that is an ordinary expense. But when it comes to dog food, not so much. But what if you are the type of business that deals with dogs? Then of course, if you're dealing with dogs, whether you're a dog groomer, whether you're boarding dogs, then it makes sense that you might need to have some dog food on hand. That's because that expense is necessary to the specific type of business that you are running. So do you see how we look at ordinary expenses and we look at necessary expenses? As long as you're documenting that in your bookkeeping records, then it becomes crystal clear to the accountant, to the auditor, to the business owner and such. So the key point here is that in your business bookkeeping records, you must document the reason for the expense in a way that explains that it is ordinary and necessary to your business. However, most bookkeeping tools can't do this or they don't prompt you to do it. So it's up to you to remember every single time you are updating your bookkeeping records. Let me know in the comments if your bookkeeping tool allows you to document this information or if it automatically prompts you for it. Now let's take QuickBooks, for example, which is a phenomenal tool. I mean, it can automatically import your transactions from your bank account. It can even be set to categorize transactions automatically based on where those purchases were made, but it does not automatically ask you what the business purpose is for those transactions, which means that those bookkeeping records do squat for you when it comes to an audit. Let's take, for example, if you spent $100 at the store, how does the auditor know that that $100 was spent for a printer versus just getting craft supplies for your kids? You can't prove it unless you have a receipt as proof. But even there, a lot of receipts have either just an item number on there or it has an abbreviation of what was purchased. And so it's not crystal clear. Again, if you're leaving it into the interpretation of the auditor or the CPA, they're probably not going to count it as a business tax deduction. So if you are getting in and you are clearly defining what the purpose is for the transaction, then all of a sudden there's no room for interpretation. They can see crystal clear what it was for. This is why when I'm working with a client, I give them a tool that will automatically prompt them to put in the business purpose of the expense every single time they're entering a transaction into their bookkeeping tool. Then what happens at tax season is all they have to do is legitimately send that spreadsheet to the CPA and all the work's already done. It's already showing what the tax deduction category should be and what the business purpose of the expense is. Then the CPA can just come in, double check everything looks A-okay, and move on. There you have your biggest tax deduction possible. Now that leads us into secret number 3. Your small business bookkeeping records are the make it or break it factor when it comes to how big of a tax refund you get at tax time. If your small business tax preparation consists of taking a box of receipts to your CPA to let them sort through and figure out what your tax deductions are, then you're missing out on hundreds, even thousands of dollars in business and LLC tax benefits. The number one thing that I stress to students in my 5-minute bookkeeping course is that you don't need to make this any harder than it has to be. In fact, I give them a fully automated spreadsheet that's so easy that even their middle schooler could do their bookkeeping for them. When your records are organized, it becomes crystal clear to your accountant, your CPA, the auditor, and to you yourself as the business owner, what your expenses are and how they qualify as a tax deduction on your small business taxes. And when your bookkeeping system is easy, you're more likely to do it. So your action steps to take today are: number 1, grab the free ultimate tax deduction cheat sheet from the links in the description below. And number 2, get a simple system in place to document the ordinary and necessary reason for all of your business expenses. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur. And if you're looking for how to make your bookkeeping simple and efficient for tax season, make sure to watch this video or check out my Bookkeeping 101 playlist.